So, hello there everyone and welcome, it is Kieran here, and today it is time for me to bring you a very interesting video indeed. Recently I've been going sort of back in time with old Fifas, with old players, and taking a look at how things stack up in comparison to real life now. And given it's the World Cup, given it's football's coming home fever time, I thought I might as well take a look at what this current England team looked like in the past and what FIFA actually predicted for the World Cup team of England to look like in the future. We're going all the way back to FIFA 14 and the year 2013 to take a look at how the current England side looked 5 years ago, and it is very interesting indeed. If you go on to enjoy the video, then slap a like on it, and of course subscribe if you're new around here. But let's get into the players. So we start off with the goalkeepers, and England's number one, Jordan Pickford, playing for Sunderland, was just 59 overall on FIFA 14. 59! That is ridiculous. He had a potential of 75 in fairness, which is semi-decent, but to put that into perspective, he's currently 80 overall on FIFA 18 now, and he hasn't even come close to reaching his potential in real life. So Jordan Pickford had a ridiculously low potential, or low overall, sorry, back on old Fifas. Jack Butland had already sort of been discovered as a bit of a gem for the future by the time FIFA 14 swung around. He actually joined from Birmingham City to Stoke City during the course of this game cycle. He was 71 overall and had a potential of 85. He hasn't reached that in real life in terms of FIFA ratings. On FIFA 18 he's currently 81, but the number 2 for England certainly was a lot better than the current number 1 in the shape of Jordan Pickford, and he was a lot better than our number 3, Nick Pope, the current Burnley goalkeeper who's been one of the shining lights in the Premier League this season for the team in claret and blue, was playing for Charlton Athletic on FIFA 14 and was only 48 overall. His max potential was 64. 64! That is ridiculous, and his current overall is 78 already. So yeah, FIFA 14 didn't have high hopes for the kid, but he's definitely proven it wrong. Kyle Walker was 79 overall back on FIFA 14. He was a right back, although currently at this World Cup he's getting deployed as a centre back. I imagine when he goes back to his club side he'll return to that fullback status, He was 79 with a potential of 82 back on FIFA 14. He's actually already gone above that, and he's 83 overall on FIFA 18. Or certainly the normal version of it, regardless, of World Cup mode. So that's pretty fair. That was pretty much sort of predicted, or that's pretty accurate. Danny Rose, however, a little bit underrated as far as FIFA 14 side is concerned. He was 73 rated back then, had a potential of 78. He's already 82 right now. Obviously, himself and Kyle Walker were both playing for Spurs. I think he came through the Spurs Youth Academy, whereas Kyle Walker was obviously brought from Sheffield United, and you'll see a bit more of Sheffield United a little bit later in this video when we jump onto the centre-backs. First of which was this man here, John Stones for Everton, though he was a right-back back on FIFA 14. He had an overall of 68 and a potential of only 79. His current overall is already above that. He's 80 rated, but obviously he's got a lot more growing to do and a lot more improving, and he's had a very good season with Manchester City winning the Premier League. I imagine on FIFA 19 he'll be something closer to 82, potentially even 83. So a little bit underrated back then, but still recognised as a solid player there playing for Everton. And I mentioned Sheffield United. Harry Maguire of Leicester was still playing for the Blades back on FIFA 14. 5 years ago, he was 66 rated. This is before he joined Hull and then consequently Leicester City as well. Who would have thought he would have been one of the biggest or one of the best centre-backs currently playing for England at the moment and a consistent starter in a starting 11. His potential back then was 78. That is one lower than his current overall. Kieran Trippier is next up, and before he signed for Tottenham Hotspur, he was of course playing for Burnley as well. We've mentioned Nick Pope, but this guy was actually playing for Burnley back in the day. He was 71 overall and had a potential of 78. That is actually his current overall on FIFA 18, although I think he'll get an upgrade, to be honest with you, after a very good season and of course an England call-up for the World Cup. He's also been playing consistently for England, so I imagine he'll break into the 80s. But yeah, Kieran Trippier, I guess, predicted to be at least a semi-decent player back on FIFA 14. There's not a huge amount to report as far as Gary Cahill is concerned. Obviously back on FIFA 14 he wasn't really going to grow anyway in terms of potential. He's always been, I don't mean this in a bad way, but he was kind of old on FIFA 14 in comparison to some of the other players in this video. And the only difference is he's now 81 rated in comparison to the fact that he was 80 rated as a Chelsea player back on FIFA 14. Moving on to another centre-back, but another player who was rated or sort of known as a right-back back then, and this is Phil Jones of Manchester United. He was 78 overall back then, not long after signing from Blackburn Rovers actually, had a potential of 84. To be honest, he isn't at that right now, and I don't see him hitting that sort of overall on FIFA unless he has an unbelievable season next year, but I don't see that particularly happening in comparison to seasons that have gone by. He is 81, as I mentioned right now. Staying with the vibe of Manchester United players, we've got Ashley Young here, who was 82 rated back on FIFA 14. I think he's the only player to have actually gone down in rating on FIFA these days. Now, he started at 77. I could have sworn he's got an upgrade to 79. That might be complete and utter baloney, but I know obviously he got a team of the season this year, so I'd imagine he's got an upgrade at some point during the year. But yeah, he was 82 back then and known as a winger rather than a left back. Jordan Henderson had just moved from Sunderland to Liverpool at this point in his career back on FIFA 14. He was 75 rated and with a potential of 83. These days he's 82 on FIFA, but 5 years ago, yeah, FIFA had him pretty much nailed on in terms of his rating back then. He certainly hadn't hit the heights that he's at now, and also, yeah, his potential is pretty much bang on, I reckon. I think Jordan Henderson's probably at his peak. Dele Alli, however, not so much. I can't lie to you. He obviously had an overall, as you can see on the screen there, of 54, and his potential was actually only 76. 76, would you believe, whilst playing for MK Dons. This was obviously before he made his move to Tottenham Hotspur a few years ago. I think it was the first FIFA he actually appeared on the game as well. 54 rated. That is absolutely unbelievable. I love that. We've got Eric Dyer here next up, 73 rated, and the only player who was abroad during the course of FIFA 14 out of this squad. He was over in Portugal playing for Sporting. I don't know if he's part Portuguese or whether he just decided to move over there to spend a bit of youth academy time with the Portuguese side, but it certainly helped him out, and then he joined Tottenham, obviously. His overall was 73 back then, and his potential was 82. So yeah, FIFA 14 pretty much predicting him right as well. Next up, Fabian Delph, who just moved from Leeds United to Aston Villa at this point in time back in 2013, and FIFA 14 had him as 72 rated whilst playing for Aston Villa. He's had a bit of a change up in terms of position recently as well. He was a centre mid back then, but he's now a left back playing for Manchester City, and he did very well across the season while City suffered sort of injuries to their full-backs, the likes of Benjamin Mendy. Moving on to Jesse Lingard now, and this is another cool one. He was just 63 rated back then. I think he was just about to go on loan as well to Brighton and Hove Albion in the course of his career back then. Known as an attacking mid, I still believe he is an attacking mid at the moment on FIFA. I think he's got a potential, sorry, his overall right now is 80. His potential back then was considerably lower. It was sort of mid-70s. And in fact, it might not have even been that. I think it was like 74 or 75. So FIFA 14 wasn't too hopeful for Jesse Lingard, but he has proven the doubters wrong in my opinion. Raheem Sterling next up, who again had always been sort of touted as a wonder kid, let's be honest with you, and he was always going to hit those heights, especially with his first couple of seasons at Liverpool. He was 17 back on FIFA 14 back in 2013. He was rated 76 with a potential of 85. His current overall on FIFA 18 is 84 with Manchester City. So yeah, FIFA 14 pretty much nailed that one. But again, for every one that they nail, they get one pretty vastly wrong, quite frankly, and Harry Caine is one, and he looks literally 13 in his picture. I don't quite know how that's happened, but the Tottenham Hotspur striker was just 67 rated 5 years ago and had a potential of 74. It's been a meteoric rise, obviously, for him to now captaining his international side and being 88 overall on FIFA 18. Jamie Vardy is another one, obviously, who won the Premier League back in 2016, who's again had a meteoric rise since his non-league football days, Fleetwood Town days, and of course, the early Leicester City days as well in the Championship. He was 67 rated 5 years ago, 25 years of age, as you can see there. His pace, interestingly enough, was only 76. 76 for Jamie Vardy, arguably one of the paciest players in the entire Premier League. And finally, we have got Danny Welbeck here, who of course was playing for Manchester United rather than Arsenal. A little bit more was expected of him back in the day 5 years ago. He had a potential of 83 and an overall of 78 at the start of the game. He now has an overall of 80, so he's obviously improved, but he hasn't really hit what FIFA 14 was expecting for him by this point in his career. So Danny Welbeck there, the final of the players that are on the game. Speaking of ones that aren't on the game, there was no Trent Alexander-Arnold, Ruben Loftus-Cheek or Marcus Rashford in this video. Ruben Loftus-Cheek did feature on FIFA 14 very, very late on, but my version of the game doesn't have him in and the servers are down, so I can't update it. And Trent Alexander-Arnold and Rashford were, I believe, 14 and 15 respectively at the time, so obviously they weren't going to be on the game, but of course they were in their respective youth academies. That though is going to bring an end to this video, showcasing where the England side side was at on FIFA 5 years ago, and there are some incredible ones there. Nick Pope, Dele Alli as well, Harry Caine, some unreal ones of players who have come from absolutely nowhere and no potentials to being absolute world beaters, hopefully for England this summer. If you enjoyed this video, slap a like on it and subscribe if you're new to the channel. If there's any other countries or nations you want me to do this with, then drop it down in the comments section below. Otherwise, you can follow me on social media too. My Twitter handle is @theofficialfng and my Instagram is exactly the same. Links are down below. But it's been a pleasure ranting at you guys today. Have a great day, enjoy yourselves, and goodbye.